have you ever stopped to think about how a belief system, a whole philosophy, can be expressed not in words but in solid stone? Well, today, we're going to dive into two ancient faiths that did exactly that, leaving behind an architectural legacy that, honestly, still speaks to us centuries later. We're going to journey into the incredible worlds of Buddhist and Jain architecture.
Okay, so our journey kicks off right here, at the Great Stupa at Sanchi. This magnificent structure isn't just some old building. It's a massive statement. It's this huge hemispherical mound dating all the way back to the 3rd century BCE, built to hold sacred relics. It's solid, it's serene, and it is absolutely packed with symbolism. But how does all that symbolism actually work? That's the big question we're going to explore.
Right? How does something like this, a mound of earth and brick, transform into this profound map of the entire cosmos and a path to enlightenment? That's exactly what we're going to unpack. And the story of how this all happened, well, it starts with one incredibly influential person.
And that man was Emperor Ashoka. After a period of just brutal conquest, he converted to Buddhism and made a game-changing decision. He decided he wouldn't just preach the Buddha's teachings, he was going to build them. He made Buddhism the state religion and used architecture as this incredibly powerful tool to spread the message all across his vast empire.
So this imperial support, it basically gave rise to a whole distinct architectural language, a kind of blueprint for expressing Buddhist philosophy. Let's break it down.
Early Buddhist architecture pretty much boils down to 3 key types of structures. You've got the Chaitya Hall, which is for worship, the Vihara, which was the monastery for the monks, and of course the Stupa, which we've already met. Each one served a completely different but vital function for the community.
So the key thing to get about the stupa is that it's basically a container for sacredness. It might hold relics of the Buddha himself or mark a really important spot in his life. It became the most important, the most prominent form of early Buddhist architecture, really the focal point for all devotion.
And get this, every single part of the stupa is just dripping with meaning. It sits on a square base, the Methi, which represents the earth. It's surrounded by a wall, the Vedika, separating the sacred space from the everyday world. Worshippers walk around it on the Pradakshina path. Then way up at the top, the Harmaka and the Kshatris symbolize the axis of the universe, connecting our world to the heavens. And those super ornate gateways, the Toranas, they tell these vivid stories from the Buddha's life.
All right, let's switch gears to the next type, the Chaitya Hall. The easiest way to think of this is like a Buddhist church or prayer hall. It's a space designed for monks to worship together, as a group. And here's the critical part. It almost always has a small stupa at the far end, acting as the focus of all that devotion.
So where did all those monks actually live? Well, that would be in the Vihara. This was the monastery, their living quarters. And usually it was designed with a central hall surrounded by these small, simple cells where the monks could live and meditate.
And this image, wow, it just perfectly shows how these structures were often made. A lot of the earliest and most spectacular examples, like the ones at Ajanta and Ellora, weren't built with bricks at all. They were excavated. Just imagine carving top-down straight into a solid rock cliff, removing thousands of tons of stone to reveal these enormous, permanent halls and monasteries. The precision, the skill, it's just mind-boggling.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. At the very same time Buddhism was flourishing, another faith, Jainism, was carving its own unique path in stone. So let's see how they built a different kind of sacred space.
If there's one single phrase you need to remember to capture the vibe of Jain architecture, it's this: a richness of detail. This really gets at a style that is all about intricate, almost overwhelming ornamentation and complexity.
And you can see that richness right here. Just look at this giant temple. Every single surface seems to be buzzing with life, with carvings and sculptures. It's such a contrast to the solid, monumental simplicity of an early stupa. This is a symphony of detail, and it creates a completely different kind of spiritual atmosphere.
So what are we looking at here? What makes a Jain temple a Jain temple? Well, for one, they're often built on a raised platform, the jagati, which sets them apart. They're enclosed by these high walls, called prakara. And a real key identifier is the shikhar, that distinctive curved tower rising up over the main idol, marking its sacred location so everyone can see it from far away.
All right, so we've got these two totally distinct traditions, right? They grew up in the same place, but have these different philosophies. Let's put them side by side and really see how those differences play out in what they built.
Okay, on the left, you've got your Buddhist rock-cut structure. It's austere, it's communal, literally carved from the earth itself. And on the right, that jaw-droppingly ornate, freestanding Jain temple, intricate, reaching for the sky like a jewel box of carving. The visual contrast is it's immediate, and it tells you so much about their different approaches.
This table really lays it all out. For Buddhists, the main structures are stupas and monasteries. For Jains, it's the temple. But check this out, the cave monasteries. This is where you really see the philosophy in action. Buddhist viharas were built around a communal hall. The Jain cells, though, they were tiny, plain, and built for severe individual austerity. I mean, sometimes the doorways were so small a monk had to literally crawl through. That just shows you a fundamental difference in philosophy, written right there in the stone.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What do we get from all this? Well, these two traditions, developing side by side, created this unbelievably rich and diverse architectural heritage that has managed to last for thousands of years.
At the end of the day, these buildings aren't just old rocks. They're not just historical artifacts. They are physical manifestations of belief. You can see the communal nature of early Buddhism in the shared spaces of the vihara. You can feel the Jain focus on individual toughness and intricate devotion carved into every inch of their temples. It's like they're quite literally philosophy made visible.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought, right? These ancient structures tell us so much about the people who built them, about what they really valued. It really makes you wonder, 1,000 years from now, what stories are our skyscrapers and our stadiums and our homes going to tell about us?